Okay, I am Jack MacArthur with Team Brightenberg, and this is the last video before our submission. So, as you can see from our domain class model here, there are a couple things that changed from last week. The biggest being that the web portal is now gone. We decided to cut that out, pretty much just because we didn't need it. It wasn't really serving any functionality, and it really isn't part of the system. So it didn't really make sense. Didn't really fit anywhere, so we replaced it. Instead, we just have the customer over here with the different attributes that Sean mentioned. The customer is directly associated with the scheduler because the scheduler can register the customers, and that has to happen before the customer is able to request tours themselves directly. So once that happens once, the customer can do most of the stuff with the tours direct. In addition to that, we've got the bus and the driver, both managed by the scheduler, and we've got the sightseeing and overland tours, still inheriting information from the tour with the stop. Um, this stop is kind of important. I'd like to discuss the multiplicities for a minute. We decided to go with the 2 to 10 here just to represent that depending on the type of tour, you will always have at least 2 stops, or exactly 2 stops, I should say, or anywhere from 3 to 10. So because we're in the domain class model and we're super high level, abstracting out the details really far, we put 2 to 10 here. We know that will either be exactly 2 or 3 to 10, depending on which tour you pick. But for now, we just chose to represent this with 2 to 10. So looking at our use case diagram, same kind of idea, super high level, really abstracting things out pretty far. So we just have the customer and the scheduler. The customer is here. I'm going to talk about the scheduler first, though. The scheduler can manage the customers. This includes registering the customers. Once that happens, you can see the customer is able to register for tours and do things themselves without the scheduler. The scheduler can also do a couple other things, including managing tours, basically all the creation of the tours, and then the buses and whatnot. That includes the driver as well in there. Finally, we're going to look at one sequence diagram before the time is up. So I pulled up the book public tour here. So this is a pretty simple one, although most of the sequence diagrams were fairly simple, which is good. The customer basically goes to book a public overland tour. They give a character ID, a tour ID, and the number of seats that they need. System takes it in, and pretty much you got 2 different options here. Either there's no seats available, in which case the customer is told there's not enough seats and they weren't able to book it, or in this case, there were enough seats and they successfully were able to book it. So either way, that's all that can happen there. So there are other sequence diagrams. I'm not going to go through all 8, but they're all pretty similar logic to this. Nothing too fancy or complicated. So thank you.